Good evening, everyone who have joined us today on a Saturday evening. Thank you so much for joining and being part of this webinar today. So we are all here today because we are all currently child rights fellows, and we realized that there were a lot of queries coming in about the fellowship and how it's structured, what's the role of a fellow, what a journey looks like. So we thought the best ways to answer this would be that the fellows themselves give our own give input on how our journey has looked like till now, and try to answer everything that you guys have asked us till now. So just a short introduction for all of us. Currently we're a cohort of 10 people, out of which 4 of us are here today to answer some of our questions. I am Mithat. I come from a social work background. I am one of the fellows and I handle 2 projects. We also have Ishan with us today, who comes from a public policy and law background. He's looking after one project with Kashfa, who's also here and comes from a background of social entrepreneurship. And lastly, we have Shagufta, who also, is looking after one of the projects and comes from a social work background again. So one question has been that, does our background matter? We all come from diverse backgrounds. No one is from has had the same journey here out of the 10 of us. I think we'll sort of just dive into it so that the time is also considered. Just a quick thing on what the format will look like is that for around 25 to 30 minutes, 4 of us have broken down certain sections and will talk about different roles and different areas of the fellowship. And the next 30 minutes, we have a question and a Q&A box. So you can all start putting in questions, which some of them we will answer simultaneously in the chat box itself, and some which we think need to be taken up by us. In the second half, we'll take those questions up. And we hope that we've tried to answer most of the questions that came up during the registration also through our discussion here. So I think to start off, I'd like to call Kashfa to speak on the basic and most basic question that you had, what child rights fellowship is. So Kashfa, you can take it up.
Thank you, Mithat. Hello, everyone. So about the fellowship program is actually designed by Ashoka University, and it is implemented through the Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights, which in short we'll call it as DCPCR throughout this webinar. So DCPCR is actually, I would say, it works under the larger aegis of the state government. Most of its primary role is with regard to grievance handling, monitoring. Then there is a lot of policy reform recommendations, advisory to the government on child rights related matters. We work on a lot of project-based interventions also. Then throughout the year, the DCPCR conducts a lot of training programs, does publications, all of these on child rights related matters. Now, both of these institutes came together and they formed this fellowship program. The program provides professionals under the age of 30 years with a platform to design and implement interventions from the government's standpoint. So you get to see what the government's approach is towards impact creation and where do you fit yourself in this approach. Such you will explore through managing projects once you join the fellowship. Most of these projects are based on research or they're monitoring based projects. Some projects are tech driven projects. Almost all your projects will be data driven. Then you can even work on projects for working on existing child welfare initiatives. And all of these projects have ample number of bottlenecks, so you get to work on resolving those also. Now, all of these projects are based on 4 major focus area, which Ishan will be talking about in detail in the next segment. It is actually education, health and nutrition, grievance management, and juvenile justice. The program is actually designed in a manner where you take complete ownership of your assigned project. So basically, you represent your project then onwards. And in the umbrella of your project, you get to pitch new plans, ideas, you get to form your own team, manage a team of your own. You get to drive a lot of meetings and convergence in order to achieve your project outcomes. And you do all of these while being under the mentorship and guidance of a program team. Now, from the program team, there is a deputy manager who you will be reporting to on a day-to-day basis. Apart from this, meanwhile, like throughout your tenure, you receive a lot of training, mentorship, and I would say support from the program team. So this is actually based on the larger concept called field to forum. The idea is you go on field, you come back, you bring a lot of insights, you have these forums where you share your insights. There is a lot of cross-learning activities, networking, skill training, and then you take all of these and then you go back to the field. So this is a theme which the fellowship focuses on the side. I would suggest why you should look for joining the fellowship is mostly because of three reasons. The first is if you have any keen interest, or if you're in if you want to explore child rights in general, um, we have some very thematic focus areas which you can work on through the fellowship, so you get that opportunity. The second reason would be if you're someone who wants to know about how public administration works, especially if you're someone who's on the critique side, who feels that it's a limited infrastructure, there are lazy people, it's old school, there are lots of bottlenecks here. So you get to work in a system as such and explore how can I make a difference. So that is something which you can explore. And the third reason would be if you are someone who wishes to drive impact on a large scale. Now, through the fellowship, you drive scalable solutions, you handle state level projects, district level projects, and you work with state and district stakeholders. So for me personally, this was a very big opportunity. Some other reasons would be like this fellowship is actually very fast paced in nature. So by design, you get to deliver within a year, and you get to drive change in a short span of time. And hence you work on a breadth of roles like project, non-project. You get to organize events, you get to hone your documentation skills, you get to conduct training programs, you get to lead a team. So a lot of project, non-project work is there. Another reason, which is again very close to me, would be networking. Like I don't know a lot of people in this sphere, and the fellowship helped me meet like-minded people. Something as simple as even meeting my co-fellows was a great insight for me. And then now I know, like if I come across like before I joined the fellowship, even looking at something as simple as a child begging on the street, like I didn't know what to do about it, or I just like walked past it. But after the fellowship, I realized, no, there is something you can do about it. Like one of our fellow is working on a project as such. So I know who to escalate matters to, who do I reach out to. So that awareness creation was amplified. These are some reasons you can also explore if you're thinking about joining the fellowship. That's all.
Thank you so much, Kashva. I think that was a very brief but crisp way of what you a background that you've given on what the Child Rights Fellowship is and what it aims to be for the fellows. Because at the end of the day, it is a very like we have projects, but it's a very fellow driven area of work. Coming to like, I think one of the most common questions a lot of us got, even personally, when people were reaching out to us, and even the program team that they got, was that what are the kind of projects we're handling? Are we looking at grievances, at projects? So like, what do we actually do in that sense? So just to like give us a little bit of brief on what projects we handle, and like just a few of them, because there are a lot of projects that are being handled by 10 fellows. So I'd like to call Ishan to give us some light on that.
Thank you, Mithat, and thank you, Kashva. I think you did a great job in explaining. It's very brief and crisp, and I'll try to do the same. So the commission, as Kashva has mentioned, DCPCR has certain focus areas when it comes to child rights or child welfare in the state of Delhi. And the major focus areas which we work on are, as Kashva said, education, health and nutrition, and juvenile justice. Juvenile justice, I'll just expand on that a bit, would be relating to child protection in any form. It's done by the state. So juvenile justice relates to child welfare. It relates to protection of children from offenses. It relates to even rehabilitation, how the government goes about its job to rehabilitate children who are at risk or vulnerable or in a situation of exploitation. So projects are mostly focused on these areas, and especially they're very directly focused on problem statements which have been identified by the commission as requiring very proactive effort. As Kashva mentioned, this is very fast paced, so these are issues which require solving at the quickest. So I won't, as Richard also mentioned, there's lots of projects, but I'll briefly touch upon 3 or 4 and try and give an idea as to what type of intervention is that project. So the first type of intervention would be a direct intervention where the project has a direct impact on the beneficiary, in this case, children. And for that, I'd like to quote a project, which is the early warning system. It's one of the biggest projects been run by the Commission along with the Department of Education. And the project's goal is very simple. It's to curb children from dropping out from schools. And this is done, again, it sounds very simple. It's simply done by tracking their attendance in school. And then identifying children who are long absentees, basically children who are absent for a long period of a time at a stretch, reaching out to them, identifying what cases are high risk and what kind of support is required, and thereafter initiating action. So this is a project where the flow is very simple, that you just find out which child is missing school for a long time. You reach out to them to find out what issue or what is the problem which is stopping them from attending school. And then thereafter you connect them to the whatever service or whatever department can best take care of their problem. So as a part of this project, we can say our fellows have successfully even got more than 12,000 children back to school, stopped child marriages, and in general improved the kind of proactive governance that we think of when we think of good governance. So this is one of the projects which directly impacts the children. Then second kind of project, one of the core functions of the commission is to monitor services which are provided to children through various schemes, various institutions. So one of the important institutions in our country to provide services to children are Anganwadi centers. So Anganwadi centers look after the health and nutrition and to some extent even education of children who are 0 to 6 years old. So a project within the commission is called Strengthening Growth Monitoring. And through this, the fellow working in this project would regularly monitor the identification of children who are either malnourished or at the risk of being malnourished. How this is done is that Anganwadi workers regularly track the height and weight of children in Anganwadi centers in Delhi, and they would input this data onto a software. So the fellows' work is to directly monitor all kind of data, even have field visits and interactions with Anganwadi workers and find out what are the bottlenecks they're facing in either getting these children some support or tracking them. So it's kind of a way to monitor the implementation of a scheme which is meant for the welfare of children. So that's another kind of project, a direct intervention and strengthening monitoring. A third kind of project is that the government itself runs so many schemes, has so many projects ongoing, but some of them require really targeted support for it to achieve maximum impact. So one of the projects where a targeted support is provided is called Children in Street Situations, or Prevention of Children in Street Situations. So the government has many initiatives running for street children, but there were gaps that had been identified, especially one gap that end-to-end rehabilitation of these children is not being ensured by any of these schemes. So a project was initiated by the fellowship and the commission, where the fellow has to manage a team of project officers which works on ground literally every day. They're on the streets, they're identifying children who are in need of care and protection, who are at risk or vulnerable, and then they build rapport and then connect them and their families to essential services such as education, health, documentation. So many of these children who are on the streets are unable to access welfare benefits just because they don't have any documentation such as Aadhaar cards, birth certificates, school enrollment certificates. These are not present. So the project directly supports these children in actually benefiting from schemes by touching upon these various crucial areas of a child's life. So this is one project where the fellowship provides direct support to existing government schemes and initiatives. So just to keep it brisk, these are the kind of projects which I think explain at large what kind of interventions a fellow can do, a fellow is involved in. And another question which I would like to address is what the journey is of such a project. So one thing which all of us have realized and really appreciated is that every project is fellow centric and is fellow driven. So every aspect of the project is owned by the fellow themselves. We know all about our projects A to Z. We are accountable for our projects. We are accountable for the work we do. And these projects are monitored directly by the chairperson who heads the commission. And we have a very strong support and mentorship by the program team, and within the cohort, all fellows support each other on every project, which is a great takeaway from myself in this experience. I'll try to really put it very shortly. I don't think I'll be able to do justice, but I'll try my best. So any project starts with very strong research or a very strong problem statement. And we as fellows were given absolute freedom to identify areas where we think work can be done, or analyze data or insights which the commission itself is receiving or other fellows are receiving. Some fellows will have a field-centric project implementation work, while some fellows will have a desk-centric. But I have seen that most projects are a mix, a healthy mix of both. So using those insights, using those just experiences, trying to analyze these ground realities, along with the project team, we try to come up with a project proposal, which just is a note and an idea, or just a very fleshed out idea which is practical and feasible, whereafter the chairperson of the commission identifies whether it aligns with the commission's priorities as well. So the project in itself should be a very well thought out, well fleshed out idea, but it should be aligned with the commission's priorities at large. And then comes the part of design and structuring. So this is one thing which I can personally speak on, since my project was at the stage where we had to design and structure the whole project, and it was monitored directly by the chairperson. So in my project, we are completely designing a tech intervention which will be used to track and monitor children's well-being who lived in government homes, such as orphanages, homes where children who are abandoned, who run away, or do not have anyone to take care of. They live in these homes, these government institutions, and we, along with the commission, have completely designed from scratch this system or a software which will help track the well-being of these children. So from the smallest aspect of how the web page will look to how the process will flow for the whole project is decided by the fellows in consultation with the chairperson. There's a lot of stakeholder engagement, since no one can work in silos in such a multi-sectoral area. So there's a lot of departmental collaboration. There's a lot of requirement of onboarding. So you would require, for example, if you have a project which works regularly with the education department, there's a lot of onboarding. You have to create buy-in. You have to ensure cooperation. This is done by a fellow's intuitive thinking as to what will push and pull that project towards success. Thereafter, once the project is designed, structured, you have the stakeholders on board, and you have ensured the launch readiness. Thereafter, the project is launched. In a way, you can say now it becomes a part of governance at large. And the projects are launched usually by very senior stakeholders, usually decision makers such as ministers of that relevant department or the departmental head. And after this point, the real-time implementation of that project begins. And after such a project is launched, begins the real grunt work of ensuring the implementation, which requires us coordination with implementing stakeholders, being responsible. So we are personally and professionally responsible for the outcomes that we had promised in our proposal. So we have to really work hard every day and ensure that these outcomes, these targets that we envisioned are met. So to ensure that there are regular reviews, very regular reviews within the commission, as well as within the departments where the project is involved. And discussions are around the progress made, possible improvements, and some key wins. And I'd like to end this section by really saying that these projects are not something which are one and done. We are in a process which is time bound, very fast paced. So there will be some caveats. Some other caveats is that these projects are essentially a part of governance at large. They can go through different stages throughout the years. As in my own example, we were heavily involved in design and development, but there could be a stage where we would be involved in piloting it or launching it. Or you could be a fellow who is now strongly involved in monitoring and evaluation of your project, which is now being implemented. So as a fellow, you might find yourself situated at different points in that journey, but I assure you all points are extremely exciting. You can drive a lot of impact and really bring change in governance and the lives of children in Delhi.
Thank you so much, Ishan. I don't think any one of us could have worded what the projects are currently and what a project journey looks like better than you have. And I think that's extremely detailed. So I really hope in this area we do not have more questions, and we've answered a lot of the questions that all the participants here had today. I think one of the most important sections that we also felt while answering and planning this entire webinar was that, what the fellowship is, what the project is, well, these are important. What the role of a fellow is and what our own personal journeys in the sense have looked like is the most essential, and it's the crux of the fellowship at the end of the day. So I think Shagufta here was going to throw some light on what the journey of a fellow looks like, and how it's been a little bit on how it's personally been for her for a year also.
Thank you, Mithat. So, well, what has been this 1 year like? Well, definitely a roller coaster ride for all of us. But our day-to-day role in the commission comprises of 3 primary responsibilities. It's even been told by Kashfa and Ishan that we have to assign the projects we are assigned, we have to manage that and lead them. We have to coordinate with all the stakeholders, be it internal or external, for the smooth functioning of the projects. And lastly, since you are going to be leading these projects, you will have to conduct workshops, training programs, meetings, and for that you will have to represent the commission as well as Ashoka. Now, moving on, in this 1 year, your role as a fellow can be categorized into 2 types. One, where your role will be directed towards large-scale interventions, and another could be the small-scale interventions. Now, what is large-scale intervention? It is basically you managing your project, every little detailed, every nitty-gritties that is to be looked into for to ensure that your projects run smoothly. So to give you a better understanding of the responsibilities I had to undertake, or you would have to, let me walk you through, the project I am leading right now, which is the Helpline Response System. It's a 24/7 emergency team. This team was built to physically reach out to the children who are, in need of assistance, and the commission ensures that assistance is provided to them. So to have this team, I need to manage a team of junior consultants and civil defense volunteers who have to be available 24/7 round the clock. So starting from providing them with hand-holding support, assigning them cases, ensuring there's timely intervention through field visits, giving a proper update to the division POCs who are raising these field visits, I have to manage it all. Apart from that, since the cases they usually handle, it's very, it's very risky. They are not very easy at times. And therefore you have to strictly monitor each and every case very, very closely. So there's an MIS built solely for this project, which keeps updating every single day what cases are coming our way, what needs to be taken up today within 24 hours, within 48 hours, or what can be even handled a week later. So that assigning, that monitoring is done by me. And while you're here, you will realize that, well, a government department, a government or body cannot function without file work. So there's lots and lots of file work, documentation, because it's a must. While you are working in the commission, you will realize that nothing really moves in the commission without a proper proposal and approval of the same from the chairperson. So that's very, very important. And apart from managing the projects, somehow our roles are not just limited to that. There's much more to it. Sometimes we are even involved in the outreach of our own projects, so that we can widen our own scope of work, which is very important while we are, managing these projects, respective projects, each fellow. While, well, in this 1 year, while leading this team, handling this project, since it was absolutely at its implementation stage and it was very new. So what I did realize that as an individual leading this team, I had to be a good leader. And by a good leader, not just for the sake of it, just not to say it or sound very fancy, but actually be a good leader, one who can empathize with her team members, one who understands, their problems, their apprehensions, and at the same time, ensure that, give them the kind of support, the kind of, help they need, so that they understand that the project is equally important. Their role is very, very significant, and they should never compromise on the work front. Now moving on to the small scale interventions. Well, your role in the commission will be that of supporting the commission every way possible, small or big. Starting with, as you know, that in the commission, there's a massive inflow of grievances. And these projects that have been set up for each fellow, they are a mechanism that sort of provides on-ground support to them so that we can address each and every grievance that comes our way. Apart from that, the commission hosts a lot of events, and the fellows have been a part of it. They have to participate. They either provide like end-to-end logistical support, or they're given the responsibility to be the POCs of chief guests, and etc. Apart from that, you have to assist the chairperson in various training or capacity building workshops of government officials or other stakeholders like functionaries of CCI, government school teachers, and many more. Apart from this, one thing that we as a cohort got was the space to come up with some innovative ideas also, one that would make a difference to the commission and children at large. So this year on 14th of November, we were given a chance to create a child-friendly space. As you know, government offices, they look very dull. It's not a very happy space to be in. But since it's a body that's working for the children, we had to create a space which is child-friendly, full of color and toys and books and things like that. Now, apart from that, what we did was we created this children advisory committee comprising of 12 members who came to the commission on that day and passed a resolution against bullying at school. And they will continue to be the representatives. They will continue to represent and be the voices of those children who often go unheard, or problems that are not brought to the center stage at times. And this particular day was somehow a milestone in our fellowship, is because this was the first time beneficiaries were present for a meeting. As we know, DCPCR works for the children, but I think this was one such instance where we worked with the children. Apart from that, in 1 year, you will realize that, well, there's, like they said, that we come from diverse backgrounds. So what you do realize is this, that in this 1 year, you learn a lot. There's a lot of cross-learning from your co-fellows. So in case you encounter any roadblock, any challenge, you don't need to even escalate it to your deputy manager or to your program team or to the chairperson or anyone, any other internal stakeholder. You can just fall back on one of your fellows, because probably they're managing such a project that could help you. Maybe a solution that you cannot think of, but they can, because they come from a different field. So maybe they can give you that outsider's perspective at times. To sort of sum it up, this journey, I feel, has been so fruitful and impactful for all of us, is because somehow this cohort, the previous, and I think the ones who will be joining the fellowship, they will realize that, you know, it will be so great, or it has been so great for us, is because somehow the fellowship, these projects have helped make this commission very accessible to the people, to the children of Delhi. And since it's become more accessible, what people at large feel is that, you know, they can trust the commission. They can come to us. They can come to us with their problems, and we will be resolving that. And somehow that's the reason I think they've put in so much faith in the commission and the efforts, and its efforts to reach out to children. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Shagufta. Before I continue, there are some participants who have raised their hands earlier, and किसी को भी कोई भी questions है तो अभी भी आपको पूछने, तो please वो Q&A box नीचे दिया हुआ है, आप उसमें पूछ लीजिए. Simultaneously हम answer करते रहेंगे, या तो अभी in the next half an hour we will take up any other questions. I think all of you have very nicely encapsulated everything about the fellowship. But before we move on to the question answer, because we're approaching a year's end and our own fellowship journey towards the end, I think if we could like quickly get one line from the three of you and me also on what our key takeaways have been So I think Ishan, if you can start us on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mittal. Yeah, after 1 year, I think the key takeaway or the best thing about the fellowship has been that um, there's so much to do within a single project is something I learned. इतन बहुत कुछ है करने को, from managing it to event managing it to really outreaching and everything. There's so much to do within a project that I never knew I could do, and it actually gave me a chance to see what I liked. Do I like data analysis? Do I like design and structuring? Do I like monitoring? So that was my key takeaway, that this fellowship gave me an opportunity to really try so much more than I usually would have within any big government structure or department structure. And working and learning from the fellows, as Shagufta said, that has been the second biggest takeaway. Like the cohort has been one of the key reasons that we've learned so much every day. Yeah.
Kashfa, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So actually, there's so many key takeaways now that I think about it. But I think the major takeaway or major opportunity that the fellowship has given me was the ownership I had of my project. So it was so fellow centric that so Ishan and I were like we were together managing one project, and there's no aspect where Ishan and I have not contributed or we don't know about, right from the design stage of it to its completion or like implementation, even simple things like meetings, each and every meeting or like everything about the project, like everything went through Ishan and me. So that is something which I felt really leveraged my creative energy. It gave me that space to show that I can do it and I am capable of doing it. And the fact that there were people wanting to hear us, like I remember Ishan and I have given presentations in front of IS officers and directors of other departments, and they were wanting to listen to us, like our work. So that platform which I got from the fellowship, I think that was something which I'll always be happy, grateful about.
Thank you, Kashfa. Shagufta, would you like to share your journey takeaway?
There's so much overlapping. Now, well, the fellowship was definitely a learning experience where I think we all, in some way or the other, had to keep expanding our horizon. We knew that this was not the limit, this was not the end, there's so much more to it. And not just that our role was restricted to our projects. I feel even our projects had so many layers, had so many needs, that every single day I feel our priorities kept changing. And it was so quick and it was so many things happening together. We were juggling so many things at one go that I think what we learned was also to adapt to those shifting priorities, to those changes on a day-to-day basis, and also learn to multitask, definitely, because I don't think we were just doing one thing on a day. Apart from that, I feel that another key takeaway would be the fact that the kind of friendship we all built in this 1 year journey. We were a group of 10, a strong group, and I think that's how we started. And I know for a fact that that's how we will, the last day will look like for us.
Thank you, Shagufta. Just like I think all three of you have said points that were also in my mind. So I think it's the worst to go last in these situations. But the biggest thing for me in this fellowship, something very close to what Ishan was saying, that ki, like मेरी आदत है कि सबसे पहले मना कर दो अगर कोई कुछ दे रहा है, in the sense that, and I don't think I'm comfortable doing this if it's not, I come from a particular thematic background in social work also. I was very particular कि इसी पे काम करूंगी. Anything else is just no. And I don't know if I can do it, but this fellowship has given me the chance to not only has pushed me to go beyond my comfort zone, whether I liked it or not. But at the end of the day, I'm very grateful for it, because I did not know I would be good at something like data management, dashboards bana rahe, like my project is the helpline that the commission runs. So I think it's just the kind of data centric work that I never thought I would enjoy at times, or actually understand what I'm doing there, is something that the fellowship has given me, which is also going to help me when I'm applying for maybe further jobs or studies. And my journey beyond this fellowship, as as we're all thing of transitioning now, and anything I do further, I do know that सबसे पहले no नहीं करना है, सबसे पहले don't just step away from it, and maybe take it up as a challenge, and might just enjoy it. And of course the other 9 fellows that I've got to meet through this entire thing, and even the program team and how supportive they've been to our entire journey. They're basically the most approachable people. At any point you get stuck, you mess up, they've been there for you. So I think that was from all of us. I'd now like to also call Apurva, who is one of the deputy managers in the program team. She'll be taking up some of the questions that you guys have typed out, the questions that we received earlier also, what we think we still not answered in our discussion. So Apurva, if you'd like to take over now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Metat, and thank you, fellows, for the very insightful discussion that we had. It was very interesting, and I think you covered all aspects of CRF, and you covered more than that. I think a lot of questions also got answered. So the questions that were not catered to, I would just like to ask those for now. तो मानस ये जानना चाहते थे कि during the work will we also get to work with authorities, or will we work as NGOs? So Ishan, would you like to take up this question regarding what is the relation with government stakeholders?
Okay, this is within the fellowship. So
yes,
within the fellowship, okay. So within the fellowship, we work as representatives of the commission. So commission, agar DCPCR commission hai, it operates under the government of NCT of Delhi, and the commission ka structure is there is a chairperson and then there are members. So when we as fellows we operate as representatives of the commission. So you are essentially a part of the commission. All the work you do, all the meetings you attend, सारे document collateral जो भी बनाते हैं, minutes करते हैं, we do it as a representative of the commission. So you are, आप कहीं field visit पे जाते हो, किसी meeting में जाते हो, it's Ishan Bamba for the DCPCR. So that is what we are not working to clearly say हम NGO नहीं है. We are in a way a part of the establishment, the government. And government, when I say, it means specifically Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights, representing them for that project. So आपका role जितना है, उस role को आप represent करते हो, not more than that. So if there are separate roles for separate people, so you are a fellow handling the project, so you are representing your project, but nothing more than that. So it's a very, very clear cut. There are no blurred lines. You are part of the government. We are just fellows representing projects, which are part of the commissions. That's, I hope, इससे थोड़ा clarity मिल पाए.
Yes, thank you, Ishan. That cleared the role of a fellow. You will be representing the government side, as Ishan said, और आप NGO की तरह नहीं work करोगे whenever you're given any project. So next question is it the same as a job, or how is it different from a job? Basically, I think everyone wants to understand what is the difference between this fellowship and a job. So Shagufta, can you take this question?
Yeah, so well, fellowship usually has a more hands-on experience. I mean, when we started off, we thought we would be probably handling more of child rights, like maybe more academic oriented notion. If you have, that's not how the fellowship works. It's absolutely a hands-on experience. It will feel like a job at the end of the day. It will definitely, when you're managing projects, you're leading projects, you're this one-man army doing everything. So it's not exactly where you're working like the other members of the commission, the other staffs of the commission. You're working as part of the CRF team, which is definitely a fellowship, but this is more work oriented only. And you're learning through your work, through your projects, through managing a team. Could be a team of junior consultants, could be a team of interns, or volunteers, could be anyone. But this is absolutely a work oriented experience that you'll have in a year's time.
Thank you, Shagufta. And as Kashfa had mentioned earlier, there is a field and forum approach, wherein there is a forum or part of it also, which provides trainings, and which may you will have refreshers. So if we can, there were also questions about people from outside the development sector who wanted to understand what sort of trainings are provided. So Metat, if you can take up this question about the trainings.
Thank you, Apurva. I think so. When we begin the fellowship, also the first 10 days is an induction for us, which is basically 10 days of intense training, in the sense that we go through multiple sessions, which give us a background, because we work in Delhi, on how the structure of governance in Delhi looks like, because there are multiple layers in the city. It's not as simple as, like, governing in one city. There are multiple government bodies running. Our own role, how the commission's role fits into it, and also having experts on child rights also come in and give us a brief introduction to the thematic area that is. And this is not the only training that we get. Like Shagufta said, we're of course always learning through our own projects, because it's only when you get a project and you start it do you understand, okay, what my project entails, who my beneficiaries are, how can I work with them, what will benefit them, all of that. So you're basically, while it's a job, it's also a very hands-on learning experience. So your trainings, for what like Apurva just said, we have a lot of field to forums. So we every 2-3 months we have a forum wherein 2-3 days we all step away from our work, step away from our project for 3 days, and we have experts, government experts, child rights experts, anything that even we feel like we need a training on, whether it's just writing a document. Experts come, give us the training. We have sessions, and very interactive sessions, and very honest sessions. It's not just like someone coming in and speaking. We are also equally heard. So in that sense, you're constantly learning something through the year. It's not just that the induction happens and then child rights. So through the entire year, you keep having these trainings, you keep having sessions. So whether you do not, it really doesn't matter, because if you're willing to learn as the fellowship starts and as it continues, then I think you go.
Thank you, Metat. I think that explained very well about the forums and the trainings that we have. Next question would be, how would you reflect about your work-life balance when it comes to this fellowship? So if Kashfa can take this question.
Thank you, Apurva. Work-life balance, I think we've had a mix of days where there's too much of work, and then some days are light. But the fellowship has definitely not come to a point where it has become too overwhelming, like where it has crossed, like it is ki work-life balance ekdam nahi ho raha hai, bahut toxic ho raha hai, aisa kabhi nahi hua hai. Yes, we have had 2 busy days, but it's not like साल भर हम वैसे struggle कर रहे हैं. So there is quite a lot of work-life balance. More so, the program team and the fellows, when you also join the fellowship, you need to know that you're a team. You're not doing everything I am in a competition, or I have to prove myself. Do not come with a mindset like that. Always come with a mindset that you're here for personal development, plus like a joint, it's like a joint initiative where you support each other. So that is something which we maintained throughout, and it was with the help of our program team also. So the work-life balance seemed easier when you have such good colleagues to work with. It's a very friendly environment at the commission. The fellowship is actually very friendly. So yeah, work-life balance was pretty well maintained for all of us.
Thank you, Kashfa. So we had a question regarding the early applicant benefits also. So I would quickly like to talk about that. The deadline for that is 29th January. So if you're applying till 29th, you have a 5% benefit on the overall score in your applications. This is the app when we are counting your scores while you are submitting the assessments. So after that, the last deadline will be till 5th February. So hope that you all submit your applications by tomorrow. If you want to avail the early applicant benefit, it's still open. So another question I think we can take is, a lot of people are asking about the post fellowship and the career opportunities that even the fellows want to explore or that they can take up. So Ishan, if you would like to tell us more about that.
Thank you, Apurva. So that's an important question. We've all been asking each other, what next? So after the fellowship, I think the kind of skills we've gained are very, very helpful anywhere in the impact sector or the development sector at large, be it civil society, directly intervening on ground, be it research through universities or through research or, multilateral organizations. I think we have been exposed to really a breadth in that sense that there's no saying कि इसके बाद तो सिर्फ आप यहीं काम कर सकते हो. So one of the many opportunities which as a part of the fellowship we have been just pushed to think कि, what next you should really have a clear idea on, and for that we had multiple interactions with the development sector stalwarts, like people running very, very big INGOs, multilateral organizations such as UNICEF. So there's a lot of opportunities I think I see in the sector when it comes to project management, at first, since what we are getting in 1 year is driving maximum impact. So in the impact space, I've seen many CSOs, even the government looking through fresh initiatives. I've seen many state governments setting up policy and research wings. So they have a lot of openings when it comes to young professionals, because since you're doing this when you're under 30, part of us will still fall under that eligibility for being a young professional. So this can really help you identify what you like within the impact space. You can also, it can help you identify themes. So there are a lot of education centric initiatives run by the government as well as civil society. So a lot of the fellows who will end up working on education related projects can find a direct entry into such organizations. There are great networking opportunities where the fellowship allows you to reach out to really, really senior people, reach out to people working currently in the space, talk to them, get a know-how, and then consequently applying. So there are, again, really trying to simply answer, in impact sector, there's so many CSOs, there's so many not profits, even for profits working now, I know of, which are doing impact evaluation, which are doing actual interventions. Research organizations, there are international research organizations. I can, to name a few, there are so many. There's Child Rights and You, there's Save the Children, there's UNICEF, then there's Bachpan Bachao. There's an endless list, but all these organizations creating impact, you directly find yourself equipped to apply for them. When it comes to the government side, except say competitive exams, there are a lot of consulting opportunities in various government departments I've come across, and they can relate from welfare to say other kinds of policy, which either directly, indirectly, but you've learned about. Then some skills such as data analysis will be sharpened at the fellowship. So you can find yourself going into a very data centric role where you work on big data, you work on tech interventions. So that's the kind of, I think your horizon is really broadened. The kind of skills you gain are not very centric to child rights, but it's very centric to creating impact, trying to scale. So thinking at scale as to how an intervention for 100 children can be scaled to 1 lakh children. That ability itself gives you a very good entry point into, it can be development consulting, it can be consulting at large, it can be research. So I hope that gives a good answer to anyone who wants to know ki fellowship ke baad kya, where can I go? So the answer is really literally anywhere where you want to create change. That I think opens up the opportunities. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Like a very broad and diverse answer that was. So moving on to the next question, we have a lot of questions coming in, particularly about Can you please tell about the rigor of the fellowship? How does a typical day look like? Are weekends also working? So this person is asking one big question. Does the job include fieldwork also? So I would request Shagufta to cover, because she covered the role of a fellow. So you can talk about fieldwork and what sort of fieldwork is included, and you can talk about the rest of the rigor of the fellowship a little bit.
Yeah, so well, a typical day in a fellow's life is primarily anything and everything that your project expects you to do. Whatever, like for example, the project I am working on, since it's a 24/7 emergency team, I have to ensure that every day my team goes out and they are assigned cases, they are taking up field visits, and they are ensuring that the child out there receives the help that they need right now. It could be anything. Now, not just assigning cases, but also monitoring them, any help, and they need to escalate it to me, or I need to escalate it to a senior official. We have to keep doing that while they are on field conducting those visits. Apart from that, like I said, it could be a lot of file work, documentation work, because you see, you have to maintain your transparency. Whatever work you're doing on a day-to-day basis, that needs to have proper documents, so that whoever, whenever is asking something out of you, you have those things ready to show that this is the work that you have done, or this is what is related to your project. So more or less this. And about the rigor and all, I mean, everything is very fast paced here. You have to put in your best every single day to ensure that it is happening. Every project has its own demands. It's not the same for all of us, but one thing that we have to do is give in our 100% every single day, so that we can continue to, so that our projects don't lack in any manner, because it's us handling our own projects. There's no other person leading those projects, so we are solely responsible. And as far as weekends, well, Saturdays are going to be working for all fellows, whoever joins the cohort. And but Saturdays are mostly work from home. You don't really have to conduct any field visits on Saturdays. At least our cohort did not have to. Initially, there was a time where they had to attend some camps, but now it's mostly work from home, where the deputy managers assign them work. Now it's not even anymore like deputy managers assigning us work. We know what needs to be done on a Saturday. Since it's our project, we have that complete ownership, so we just do whatever pending work we couldn't on from Monday to Friday, because we are sitting in the commission. A lot of things happens in an entire day. Like I said, priorities keep shifting, so at times there's some pending work that needs to be catered to, and that we do on a Saturday. So yeah, that's more or less.
Thank you, Shagufta, for explaining that. There are a lot of questions about the assessment part of it. And also Salma Salim, I think, particularly asking about the assessment. I would like to quickly clarify this part, that there were 3 questions earlier in the data analysis part, and now there is only one. This is not a glitch that's happening on your part. The questions have been reduced to 1 question now. So overall, if everyone saw the 3 questions first and now can see 1 question, that is how you're only supposed to answer the 1 question. So hope that is clear. Besides that, how to fill the assessment, and if one part of the assessment is missing, can I still upload the assessment? It is up to you. We will be marking you or scoring you based on the complete assessment submitted. So if that one particular part of the assessment is missing, you will not be scored for that. But please do submit your application. You can probably score well on the other parts of the assessment. So that is one thing. I think the part about what to answer in what questions are asked in interviews and GD, Mithat, probably if you can take up that question, because you've already been through the process.
So I think first I'll take up the GD. I honestly think this question is extremely subjective, very on a very personal level. But the GD, we were all, because we had like an online GD. I'm not very sure if the structure is the same this year, but it was actually even though it was online, it was a very easy going. We were given one theme. We were given 5-10 minutes where we got to like collect our thoughts on that thematic area. And then the person who was even anchoring the GD, gave us the space and room to sort of make it our own thing. So I think we had like around half an hour. Everyone spoke their points. There was no cross questioning that happened. There was no like, at least in my group, there was no fighting that was happening. Everyone got a space to put across their points, and someone else wanted to put across more points, because while half an hour seems like a lot of time, that at when they're like 10 people in the GD, half an hour is not a lot. So I would suggest, I think probably like the space that you're given to collect your thoughts, do jot down whatever you think is like, you want to speak on, and seeing the time constraint, pick the most like 2 3 most relevant things out of that. If you have the time, speak all your points, but if you don't, pick the points that you think are like, bang on answering that question, and just give everyone else a space to talk to. Don't like hog anyone else's space when talking. I think it's the most important part of the GD, that even when later we were having a discussion with the program team, was the point they also pointed, anyone who's hogging other space, just because if you speak more in a GD, it won't means that you know the most. So, just be wary of that. I think the interview is again subjective in the sense that a lot of the questions that we were asked were so there are also like 2 interviews that we went through. So the first interview, which was the program team, we were given a lot of case specific things, wherein it was very quick answering, but again, easy paced. So it was less on my own my CV in that sense. It was more on, it was more case interview specific. The second and final interview round, that is based on your own application form, what you've written there, your CV. So it's basically about your experience. Also, again, putting you in certain situations, but at least for, I think, most of us, it was, so whatever you've written in your CV, make sure that it's true, because you will be questioned on it. So if you think that they really do read everything you've written very thoroughly. So, and be very honest if you don't know, a certain answer. Like I remember in my interviews, I was asked something about some schemes in Delhi, and I was very honest that, I don't know this. I've not worked in Delhi yet, so I don't know this area. So honesty in that sense always appreciated. There's no need to, say that, oh, meko sab pata hai. Everyone knows that we're also here to learn at the end of the day. So all of that's appreciated. So I think just keep these few pointers in your mind. It's going to be a very easy process then. Thank you.
Thank you for quickly making us understand the process. So one question that came in was also about, will the fellows get a chance to work on the existing projects or the platform to suggest their own initiatives? So if Kashfa, you can take this question.
Yeah. So again, like it's a mix. Initially, when you join in the fellowship, you are assigned a project. So when you get assigned a project, it's an existing project. So you get to work on an existing project. However, we do have scope for pitching in ideas, new projects, but that's in the discretion of the program team or the commission's priorities. If they feel like it is of value or we can work on it, it's feasible, it will drive impact, they can definitely start working on it, like how to design it and include it in the fellowship. But otherwise, mostly you work on assigned projects, like the existing projects. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kashfa. So many questions also about when will we get to know about the results. So you will be getting a mail regarding the next steps, and the joining will be from 1st April onwards. So I think you can also see the timeline that is posted on the website. You can get a clear timeline also. So about that. One question that came up, we can take, I think, up 2 last questions. Is the fellowship queer inclusive, and would the fellows come under the ambit of employee when it comes to access of grievance redressal mechanisms like POSH committee? So would like to clarify that yes, definitely it is. And for the second part, you would come under the ambit of employee when you want to access committees like POST. There is a POST committee in the in DCPCR itself, but you can also access the Ashoka University POST committee. So on that note, we'd also like to just clarify one more question that came in about the role of Ashoka University itself. So Shagufta, if you can quickly tell us about the role of Ashoka University.
Yeah, so well, Ashoka University has not just CRF, but it has a lot of fellowships. These initiatives of Ashoka is to help, I feel, young professionals to become, well-rounded individuals who can critically think and build a sense of commitment that could bring about a change or create impact in field. And apart from that, it provides you with a platform of networking, and that network helps you, gives you a sense of direction at the same time, like what should you do next, where should you head, what should be your like your next thing that you want to, next project or next work, next career option that you would want to. And through we kept saying field to forum, so these forums have also, one such forum, also the last forum we attended was in Ashoka. So there we met a lot of people working in the university, and they sort of helped us understand that how we can contribute to the society at large, and at the same time what direction should we head towards at the end of the day post the fellowship. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Augusta. And I'd also like to thank Ishan, Kashfa, Apurva, and a lot of the other program team members and co-fellows that have been here helping us in the webinar, answering questions, and for all the support. I hope everyone who was present here today that we managed to answer some of your questions, and that this webinar has been helpful for all of you. In case anyone has any other queries, you can of course always still reach out to the Child Rights Fellowship email ID. And the deadline for the fellowship to be applied for this cohort is 5th February. So please apply as soon as you can. And yes, I think even if anyone wants to reach out to any of us 10, we have been helpful in the past, so we can surely continue to be helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, and hope you have a great Saturday.